Hello everyone, and welcome to one another video of weekly sectoral analysis. I think the next few days are going to be very interesting and probably even dangerous. Before I go ahead with this video in analyzing Nifty, Bank Nifty and all these other indices, थोड़ा सा बात करना चाहूँगा the way war is progressing. I think it is going to take I hope it doesn't happen, but it's going to take a ugly turn. The way all the news and everything, news flow is coming up. So in between that, how markets were shaping up was that last few days back, there was a hint that overall strength of the downtrend in the daily time frame chart was getting slightly weaker. We suddenly had a gap up from somewhere around 22,500 to probably 23,500. It was a very, very fast pullback in a matter of, I think, 2 trading sessions. There was a gap up and then again it was a gap up, and then suddenly on this day there was a gap down. It was a massive gap down, and after a gap down, Nifty kept on going down, down and down, and it closed near the lower end. In fact, you cannot even visually see the wick of the candle of this particular day, 27 March. Now, what we need to understand is if this pullback wants to continue, I know right now it is not looking like a pullback, it is looking much worse than that, but we are at a retracement which is just below 61.80%. Is the shorter term chart looking good? Certainly not. The 2-hourly chart, even the hourly chart is looking really bad. It's looking weak. But if we want some sort of pullback to happen here, and why I'm saying so, because the difference between the moving averages and the price, it continues to remain wide. Now it can remain wide because the momentum is very strong on the downside, and understand trend is different, momentum is different, and when momentum is there on your side, I think the length of that particular trend also increases very, very nicely. But here what we can see is a doji. Generally dojis are pretty potent, pretty strong and powerful in creating a reversal or at least a short-term bounce back. Now, will this bounce back come or no? It is very, very difficult to say. Or मैं एक predictive trader नहीं हूँ, मैं एक reactive trader हूँ. And the way it is happening, you can see there were multiple chances. Even over here, there was a couple of days pullback, sell-off. 3 days pullback, sudden sell-off. 1 day pullback, sell-off. So it's very difficult to predict what can happen. And even if you want to trade, even if the pullback comes, say if this pullback comes, I generally trade daily and weekly, but probably if the pullback comes, I would like to switch to daily and 2-hourly or daily and 1-hourly charts. Simple as that, to trade this reversal in the daily time frame chart, if at all it comes. And first thing is what I would like to say, it will have to trade above this high and close above it. On the 25th March का जो high है, which is 23,473, you can see 23,500, इसके ऊपर sustain होके close होना पड़ेगा. Only then we will be able to see some sort of respite in the market. Otherwise, जो downside momentum चल रहा है वो continue होता रहेगा, and the shorter term support is at 22,486 and next could be around 22k. Going ahead with Bank Nifty also I would say the same thing. You can clearly see that the trend and momentum both are down. The space between the price and the moving averages is pretty far enough, pretty wide. The weekly RSI is near 30, not at 30, but near 30. And we have a high wave candle. जब एक high wave candle होता है चार्ट पे, when we have a high wave candle on the chart and RSI is near oversold zone, plus there is a pretty big difference between the moving averages and the price, we need to understand one thing. What does a high wave candle stands for? High wave candle generally stands for that particular market is overstretched on one side. Overstretched यानी कि ज़्यादा खिंच गया एक side पे. Now, which side it could be? In this particular case, it is obviously on the downside. So if it is overstretched on the downside, then the next move can be on the upside. But the problem is, due to the war situation, due to the fear in the market, sentiment in the markets, the downtrend is not just happening slowly and steadily, but it is happening in gap up and gap downs. And that is the reason a person should be very careful. The recent support will be the low of this particular day, which is 23rd March. And if at all the pullback wants to happen, I think 25 March tak hua, and then suddenly on 27th we had a massive gap down, and we can see Bank Nifty has closed down more than 2.5% down. So we will have to at least close above 54,200 and then rally higher, which is going to be very, very difficult. It's not going to be very easy. Currently, the overall direction and the biasness is on the downside. If it wants to change, as I'm saying, it will have to surpass and sustain above this particular day's high. Simple. 54,200, 54,150, 54,200. Simple as that. Okay? PSU banking space. PSU banking space, I think it was flat. So far, the trend and momentum was flat, and now slowly and steadily the weekly time frame charts trend and momentum is shifting on the downside. So as a trader, if this particular sector in the daily chart, if it gives a pretty sharp pullback on the upside, pretty larger pullback, and then if it starts coming down, as a swing trader, might be I would start looking at the stocks. Private banking space. Now once again, see this guys. Ye dekhiye. RSI, weekly RSI below 30. A high wave candle. Again, a high wave candle is in green color. Something to be noted. Difference between the moving averages and the price is pretty wide enough. And few days back, we had a positive divergence in RSI. So again, if we want to have a pullback in Bank Nifty, I think it might not be PSU Banks. It could be private banking space. But again, it will have to trade above this high, which is a short-term resistance. इसके ऊपर market को trade करना पड़ेगा. Only then we'll be able to see some sort of respite in the market, some sort of pullback. Otherwise, the overall sentiment is negative currently. Oil and gas space, I think it continues to look weak. Trend momentum down. RSI is looking pathetic. Pathetic in the sense, not in the terms of the way it has fallen, but it was range bound and now it's going down. So it's looking really bad. The difference between the price moving averages is pretty wide, which is pretty common in the downtrend. And slowly and steadily, it seems that the price is grinding on the downside. Okay? So overall, the sector is weak. Autopack. Now, Autopack, here also we do have a high wave candle. The previous candle was an inverted hammer, and again we can see again. And if you want, I will just change this into a line chart. You can see this, right? You can see this. We have a lower low in price, a much higher low in RSI. This shows that if it wants to pull back, it can. But I think in Autopack, the pullback शायद उतना ज़्यादा टिकेगा नहीं. The reason for that is the higher time frame charts are not that overstretched on the downside. So pullback may or may not come. Chances are less in the Autopack, but if they come, they might be short-lived. So this is what you need to understand. So overall, as of now, the biasness in this particular sector is in the short term on the downside. Consumer durables, again, I would say the trend and momentum continues to be on the downside. In this particular chart, we can see RSI is negative, and even we have a big high wave candle. The difference between the moving averages and the price is also pretty large enough, but we do not have any sort of a positive divergence in the price. And if you remember, मैंने ये last week में कहा था that this particular sector was like going up and down, and it will need some sort of push on the downside. This is what has come in the last week, and that is the reason we saw this faster correction. Okay, so overall, I think consumer durables continues to be a weaker sector. Now consumption pack. Consumption pack also, again, we have a downtrend, trend and momentum on the downside, and we do have inverted hammer in the previous week. We have a long-legged doji this week, and probably, if I am not wrong, yes, we do have a lower low in price in the weekly time frame chart, and we have a higher low in RSI in the consumption pack, and similar we have in the daily chart. So the trend and momentum is certainly down in the weekly time frame chart, but it is overstretched, oversold in the medium term, in the short term charts. So we need to surpass this high, just about 10,800, for the pullback to happen. Hoga, nahi hoga, I have no clue, because my friends, understand, when markets fall, they fall due to fear, and the fear of a war is a very, very bad fear. If it was on something else reason, then it could be something else, but the way next week के जो news आ रहे हैं, it can be really sad and dangerous too. I hope it doesn't happen, but if it happens, then it's very difficult to predict in this sort of market. At times in short term, patterns can go for a toss. So I think whatever you see on the charts, take it with a pinch of salt, trade as short term as possible, and it's like quick trades, quick hit and run trades, and then just exit. Okay. Finance pack. Finance pack, again, I can say that overstretched on the downside, trend and momentum down, RSI, weekly RSI near 30, and even in the daily time frame charts, we can see it's just above the 200% Fibonacci extension on the daily time frame chart. It's just above the support, but still overall the trend and momentum, the biasness is on the downside. FMCG pack, I should say the direction is down, the biasness is down. Only positive thing which I can see is the space between price and the moving averages. The weekly RSI is well below 30, but it is such a weaker sectors that continuously it has been falling. There has been no respite. Even if there was a pullback, a sideways move, it has been sold. It is one of the very, very weak sectors, because it has been falling since this range, since the time when I think government had given some tax rebate to this particular sector. Still, it's falling. So it's really, really bad. IT pack. Now, IT pack is one of the sectors which has been below RSI 14, has been below 30 level in the weekly time frame chart. The space between the moving averages and the price has been a lot since last many weeks, but the momentum has been so strong that the pullback has not yet come. In the daily time frame charts, it's trying to give a pullback. I'm using the word very, very carefully, trying. And I would say one thing, trade this sector very carefully. If the sector will give a pullback, say probably this level, I'm just saying, मैं सिर्फ बोल रहा हूँ, अगर देता है तो, mark my words, then I would try to trade with mix of daily and probably 2 hourly or the hourly time frame charts, because I would like to trade this pullback with the help of shorter term time frames, and the trade should be quick hit and run trades, otherwise not. Simple. If it goes on the downside, if it continues on the downside, then it's a different thing, but otherwise, if anyone is trading short term pullbacks, then it should be very much short term in nature. The trade should be short term in nature. Infra pack. Now, infra pack, again, trend momentum down. We have a large doji candle, and the overall biasness also is on the downside. We can see a positive divergence in the daily time frame charts. The biasness is on the downside, and if a pullback has to happen, then it will have to surpass this high, or maybe this high also. If this support is broken, then probably new levels will be coming up in this particular sector. Metals. Metals, I think if you're a daily and a weekly chart trader, like I trade generally daily and weekly combination, I would say that the trend and momentum in the metal pack now is completely flat. Neither it is up, no, neither it is down, no, it is flat. And generally when the state of trend is flattish in any given sector, the best thing to do is just stay away. The main reason for that is, my friends, if you are a long only trader, अगर आप सिर्फ तेजी में ट्रेड कर रहे हो तो आपको ट्रेंड के साथ मोमेंटम चाहिए पैसा बनाने के लिए. If you are a trader who is trading in derivatives like futures, options or whatever, then you also need momentum to trade on the downside to make money. But here I am suspecting that the trend and momentum both will be flat and possibly it will continue to stay sideways. Although on the second thought, if it gives follow through price move and breaks this and continues to trade like this on the downside, then you will see the downside momentum coming up in the weekly chart. Once that comes up, then trading will be easier. Pharma pack. Now pharma pack is one sector which has been holding up very, very well. If you want, we can plot this Feb over here. It has been taking support from the 61.80% Fibonacci retracement really nicely. Only thing which I don't like is the size of the candles. The volatility is very high, but overall, the way the sector has been standing bravely, it seems to be pretty nice. Only thing is, if someone wants to participate in the pharma pack, you will have to be very, very stock specific. You just cannot go and trade any stock in the pharma pack on the long side. आपको थोड़ा सा stock specific होना पड़ेगा. But overall, it is a sector which is outperforming the entire market right now for sure. PSE sector. PSE sector, the trend and momentum is down. Yes, last week we had a candle which was a sort of a hammer, but overall I think the state of trend is down. Once we break this low, 9530, then the next support could be in at 9340, 9350. Realty, kya hi kehna? Realty, my friends, it has been one of the most weaker sectors in this particular list of sectoral indices. And the way it has been falling, it is amazing. Yes, and we do have a positive divergence here, but the positive divergence is of no use if we do not break this high, because the reason is this will be a last high in the shorter term time frame charts. Because if we break this high, then in the shorter term time frame we will start making a higher high. Simple. वो होगा नहीं होगा, it's very difficult to say, and पहले भी ऐसा हुआ है that the positive divergences have been taken for a toss and it happens in stronger trends. Divergences can be taken for a toss. It's not necessary that every time an indicator will work. Nothing works in the market every time. Something will not work in the market at some point of time when the trend and especially momentum is very strong. Okay? India Defense. India Defense, I think one of the sectors which was performing pretty nicely 3-4 weeks back, but now suddenly the trend and momentum is on the downside and the sector is looking weak. Midcaps, back-to-back weeks, back-to-back, pretty surprising. High wave candle, and this is a support. If this does not break and we do have a positive divergence here, do we have chances of a small pullback? Maybe, but again we'll have to surpass 55, 500, 55, 600. Only then we can pull back. Otherwise, if the trend momentum is strong, it will continue to fall. So overall, I think before going ahead and just saying you a good tata or bye-bye, I will just say one thing, that next week it's going to be very crucial. Next 10 days are going to be very crucial. Trade very carefully. Keep your trades very, very short term in nature. Hit and run trades. Don't stay open for very long in an order to make money, because many times it is happening that 2 दिन 3 दिन pull back आता है and then suddenly there is a gap down. Maybe this time it can change. Who knows that this time it can change completely. Maybe. I don't know. But right now, managing risk, trading with very small amounts is very important. The goal over here is to stay alive long enough so that we can remain as traders and come back in the markets when markets are more calmer. All right. So trade very, very wisely and stay cool, calm and composed. Thank you.